to make
Oh yeah,
decisions.
sure, absolutely.
And then I
More than happy.
also I also really want to talk today about portfolio management, and kind of like have everyone chip in a little bit about how to manage stop losses and how to mitigate big losses. Because I think that we're getting to a point in the market where it it's getting to a point where it's more beneficial to protect against big losses than it is to go for really big gains. Because like if you're just like holding SOL, or if you're holding like almost like any coin nowadays, like it's probably going to go up over the next few months. And so like I think, at least for my own self, and then also I'm sure the audience will probably benefit, just getting some more like insight into essentially like portfolio management and protecting your funds.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
I agree. I think that's actually a very interesting topic, Hayden, that we should discuss within the first 50 minutes of the LP Jam because I'll be leaving after 50 minutes, okay? So that's
Oh,
around that.
sure. So, Chief, if that's fine with you, we'll push the peanut segment back and we'll talk about that first. Um,
Like it's very interesting actually because for like I did a good thing and a very big mistake that I obviously could not have predicted until because it happened this morning, like this listing on Peanut, right? So what I did was that I made a position 3 days ago on Peanut overnight, and I made some good gains, etc. And I told myself that I will hold 5K worth of Peanut just like that because I think it has a strong community. I think it was at like 80 million and there was like a quite big support at 80 million, right?
sure.
And then it pumped back up to 100 million, but it went back down to 80 million, bro. And I sold it. I swear, like I
Yeah,
literally sold, and that was like 1 day before this Binance listing. You
I
know,
I had that automated LP with Hawksite like at like 50 mil, and that would have like freaking crushed if I had held it. But I also closed that. But
yeah,
let's let's go ahead and do some quick intros, and then we'll talk about like portfolio management. And also, I think it's a really good thing to discuss like how to manage long-term positions and how to avoid closing based off like short-term price action. But yeah, so
exactly.
I'm OB. I've been hosting these jams for a while. This is like LP Jam number 18 or something like that. Really grateful to be in this position. I've learned so much from this community, and I'm also really grateful that I'm in a position where I'm essentially like supported to just like help you all learn and teach DLMing, teach people how to make money in crypto. So that's me. Yusuf, you want to give yourself a shout out, and then Chief.
Sure. Hello, everyone. My name is Yusuf, 19 years old, not 16. There was someone in the Discord the other day who said I was 16. I'm 19 years old. Um, I work at Photon as well. And yeah, that's a little about me.
Hello everyone, I'm Chief. You might remember me from such Meteora uh, live shows as the Boot Camp. Um, I am one of the team at Gustav and been a member of the LP Army for many months now. Um, and yeah, that's me.
Or thanks for being on today, Chief. So, everyone, today we're going to start off this session by talking a little bit about portfolio management. I think there's like a couple things that are really, really relevant. The first is like being disciplined with stop losses, because like one bad trade can completely overwhelm a week's worth of gains. We also want to talk about how to have like more conviction and how to avoid closing positions based off short-term price action, because like everyone, like especially with like Act and Peanut doing 10x's or 20x's overnight, like everyone's been in a position where they like FOMO'd, they or not FOMO'd, but they like freaked out and they closed a position because price dumps, and then 2 hours later, 2 days later, it goes up 5x, 10x, etc. And then the last thing that I want to talk about today, and we'll probably reiterate this over more sessions in the future, is how to know when to exit your positions, both like in a short-term basis, but also like how to know when to start taking profits with the market at whole. Because like I know from my perspective, like I'm starting to get that kind of like little like tingle in my stomach, like, oh shit, like when is it going to start going down again? And so I think it's really important to have a plan in place for how to start taking profits and being disciplined and actually implementing that plan when price is up 50% and CT is going crazy and everyone's saying like, oh, Bitcoin's going to do another leg of 50K. Like when that's happening, that's probably when you need to be taking profits. So we're going to talk a little bit about that as well.
I
Yusuf and
wouldn't
Chief.
say so. Yeah, like just to critique your point here, right? Um, I mean, right now we're at a very special moment, right? Like we've come from the depths of beer market. We are literally just tasting what bull run really is, right? I mean, selling right now would be, in my opinion,
Oh,
would
I don't think anyone should sell right now, but I think right now is when you should be creating a plan for how
that's
knowing
true.
when to sell. Um,
Yeah, okay, that's true. But don't take profits, guys, not yet.
I
At
mean that,
least okay, so my personal advice, at least take profits when Bitcoin is above 100K. I think like all of
yeah.
us can agree that Bitcoin will go above 100K, right? So just wait till that happens.
One thing that I've been considering is essentially doing a DCA out strategy where I have like my kind of like base level. Maybe we use like BTC 100K as that. And then I sell 1% of my portfolio every day for 90 days or something like that. And so there's also a couple TA things that I'll share. And I'd love to hear if Yusuf and Chief, you guys have any other things to add in terms of using TA to determine macro tops in the cycle. Um, Chief, what do you think? What's your kind of like strategy for this long term, or not long term, but for the next like 3 to 6 months in the bull market?
Well, actually, what I did recently with when Sol hit 200 was I took a little bit and paid myself out of my DLM profits.
Yeah,
Um, I cashed out
nice.
because you got to reward yourself too. You can't just be rolling it all back into the pot. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So it's not just about optimizing. It's also about enjoying your wins. And taking a bit. Yeah, you're never going to time it properly, and it. I don't know. I'm of the opinion that to try and install systems that make it as easy as possible for yourself. So I've been toying with the idea of most of my crypto exposure is just DLMMing.
Mm,
I have some spot, but it's not really my game. Not very good at holding and stressing over whether or not it's the right time to sell or buy or whatever. I really prefer the like to watch my money work and
mm,
for me to earn fees. And so for me, I think what I've been toying with is just cashing uh, every every DLMM that I make that's profitable, just like swap half of it into USDC or something like that.
mm.
And just kind of adding in just to hedge a little bit more and slowly build up. And so then it's not about like if the price crashed tomorrow, oh shit, is it just a drawdown or is this it? Is this the end of the bull? I just don't want that mental fatigue. And so I prefer to um, just instill it in my like day-to-day routine. How and so maybe I'll adjust that percentage of what I take off the table on every position um, in time. Uh, But I mean, the most important thing is you have a plan and it fits because it's going to be different for everyone. Like it's different life stages, different responsibilities you have. You know, the money is how much money is different to each individual, like how important that's going to be if they win or lose it. Um, and so, I mean, I think I can assume that most people who LP are on the more risk averse side of the crypto spectrum, right? Like otherwise you'd just be YOLOing into every meme and you wouldn't be thinking too much about your risk management. You just, one big hit's going to cancel all these losses out, right? Um, so I don't know. That's my approach to it. I have set myself just just targets. Like when Sol hits this and hits this, I'm going to take a bit off. And then meantime, day to day, one of the great things about being in LP is something's trickling in every day, I hope. And so I
Yeah.
can kind of just all I have to decide is if I want to hold it as Sol or if I want to hold it as the token that I was LPing or if I want to move it into something more stable. Um, and so yeah, that's my thoughts on that.
I like it. I think one of the great things about LPing is that we don't have to rely on price going up to generate profits. And so there are a lot of people who are essentially hedging their entire portfolio on one or more
Mm.
meme coins or one or more altcoins like going up in value. And that's like normal because like that's kind of like the meta that we're in right now. Like we are probably going to see 3 to 6 to 12 months of crazy price action, but at the same time like being able to generate income, whether it's like actively managed via DLMMs or even like setting up like, because I have a few HawkFi positions that these are like memes that I have conviction in, and I'm just literally going to let HawkFi manage that for me for the next 3 to 6 months. And it's it's great to be able to have kind of like lower risk, higher consistency strategies to either generate income, or also like maybe you just do this as a way to increase your stack so that you can stack more soul, or this becomes your treasury fund for YOLOing into meme coins.
Yeah. I guess the really important thing is take the time to sit down and think about it and make a plan.
Yes.
I mean, it's critical because shit happens so quickly when it does happen. It happens so fast, and you
Yeah.
just and protocols go down, and you can't get your swap through, and the stress is insane. So try and front run it, come up with your own system. Don't be reactive, I guess.
So I'm going to pull up a trading view chart. I spent some time last week trying to study various TA indicators that are historically accurate at predicting tops. And again, like this is not like a what's the, I don't know what term I'm thinking of, but it's not going to be like 100% accurate. But for me, what I'm essentially attempting to do here is have more information that will give me more confidence to hit the sell button. Um, and so this is one, it's called the TA. I'm not sure which one this is. Yeah. And I'm curious if you guys know any good indicators, but this is just like a free tool. Trading View's free for their entry level. You can get more if you want. But so this is, I have no idea what this honestly is. I literally just searched on Twitter for how to confirm Bitcoin top. And you can see that this marker has done a good job of marking the two tops. So essentially, like one of my strategies is every day check this. If when
Mm.
price goes above red line, start selling. um, and then there's this one called the Puel multiple. Um, I'm not even sure if it's showing anything right now. Uh,
High cycle Bitcoin top. You don't look at the moon cycle one?
I actually am like very into the moon cycle. I haven't really traded it that much, but I'm like super into astrology.
It's
So
an
yeah,
interesting idea.
this also is has done a good job of indicating tops. And so again, like my goal isn't to time the top perfectly. My goal is to get within 10 to 15% of the top. But really like the most important thing for me is having external indicators that will give me the confidence to hit sell. Because I promise you there will come a time when we're up 50% from here, plus or minus, and CT is going crazy. And all of your KOLs are going to be saying Bitcoin to 200, Bitcoin to 300. And they're doing that because there's a lot of people who are nefarious actors, and their goal is to convince you to essentially to buy their bags and to be exit liquidity for them. And they're going to do that by really loudly and with high levels of conviction, convincing you that the price is going to continue going up. And so when like because we're emotional beings, and so when we're in those situations, at least for myself, it's really beneficial to have something that's disconnected from emotion that helps me make that decision to take profits and close at least start closing my positions. Um,
So according to this, what we're expecting like a 200K Bitcoin? So what it's saying?
yeah, that's what
Next top?
it's, and this is going to trend up
Or
over time, so it's probably going to be 2 to 300. What what do you guys think about Bitcoin being at 2 to 300 during the end of the cycle?
personally, um, you know, I would be happy if it gets to 150, like, but yeah, I don't know. I would say at least 150, maybe more, maybe 200, I don't know.
I
Um,
think I think that's too conservative, to be honest. Like I just saw a
I have
post
no
on,
idea though. Like, I literally have no idea.
yeah. No, again, like I think one another thing that I really want to see is a double top. Like if we look back at this cycle, we got a double top here. And so if we see this double top and price moving down, like this is like a really big like heads up to start taking profits.
But
But
how long was that between the two? Like, are you
it
really going to be able to, hold through that downturn? It's what, a few months, isn't it?
yeah,
That's like half a year, almost a year.
April to October. So I don't know. I think so we
That'd
have
be
we
one
have
hell of an LP.
oh my gosh. Yeah, that's the full diamond hands mode right there. But even in this last cycle, we still have like a double top
Mm.
here, and so I think the double top move is like pretty common when you have all time highs because no one knows when the all time high is, and this segment right here is just signifying a discounted price for late buyers, and so that's why I think the double top is really common. You have it here as well. Um, whether you call this the secondary top or this the secondary
Mm.
top. So I think there is a lot of validity in that, but also like Chief, your strategy of just like starting to sack away USDC, that's like you can't argue against that. Like profit is profit, and that's going to outcompete the people who round trip by essentially infinite percent.
Yeah. I mean, I try not to get too wrapped up in executing the perfect play. I don't, for me personally, I think it doesn't give me the it kind of sometimes it can take the fun out of it. Um, and you can end up being quite stressed, even in a positive direction, if you know what I mean. Um, and I don't know. Each to their own, I suppose. But for me, I think it negatively affects my performance if I'm trying to make that goal happen. Like I'm watching the chart, urging it, like just get that couple more percent and I can cash out. Like it. I'd much prefer to just embed it in my routine.
I like it. Um,
But I mean, this chart it looks pretty satisfying at the moment. That's a long way up still
yeah.
for that red line.
Big shout out to people who bought Bitcoin in 2010, 2013, 2015. Well done, sirs. Yeah,
Yeah.
let's go ahead and take a look at Peanut and see if we can't put together an LP for this. Then we can also check out some other coins as well. Um,
yes, someone in the chat section also mentioned Binance and them listing, Peanut
I
and
mean, he's out
ACT.
of prison. He's got to, you know, back to his old ways.
I'm
I
not even
wish,
sure if it's actually CZ who has caused it. Like I
That's
read
way
like
below his.
what?
I mean, surely it's not even big enough for him to be bothered with.
Yeah. Like personally, I just believe that there's some bad actors out there. Like it's pure scamish to list a 20 million market cap coin on Binance. Like that's just absolute scamish.
it doesn't bother
Isn't it?
me at all because I feel like it's so in alignment with like the general like crypto insano narrative. Like
Yeah, that's I
I'm
mean,
sure someone was like, yo, like Holmes, like we bought a bunch of this bag. Can you put it on Binance? And someone like made it
no,
happen.
Binance bought it. No, the thing is, Binance makes so much money off of it. Like they are the real gainers from this pump. Like
So
I can assure you that.
how is Binance? I mean, obviously they had to accumulate before they listed. Essentially, it's like the
Dude,
mega KOL play of KOL plays.
legit, like try to look at the chart, right? Peanut literally had like two massive green candles right around the announcement. Like no one could have done that unless they were like multi-millionaires. And
Yeah.
who's a multi-millionaire? Binance. So like they must look at that green candle, bro. Like no one can do that. That's impossible unless you have like 10 millions of soul.
Yeah.
I want to
Well, don't
see.
forget also there'll be many people with bots um loaded ready to buy as soon as Binance make an announcement.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
that will
but that's after Binance have bought and
yeah, and that amplifies
Yes.
it all as well.
So Binance is buying here, I think. Like, I don't think they're, I mean, obviously they could, they have the portfolio to do so, but it doesn't make sense to me that they initiate these buys because like they know they have the kind of ace in the hole of like just submitting a tweet and price going up 1,000%. So like if they were like trying to essentially like pull a fast one, they should have been accumulating all throughout this period, which is I'm assuming what they did. And then like they're like, okay, the bags are loaded, guys. Send the tweet, and then that's when this happens.
yeah, I mean, I think it's a mix because like Binance also has like an incentive to actually do this because by creating this big buy candle or green candle, right? Like they're essentially creating FOMO hype.
Mm.
Um, so I believe it's a mix of having DC8 into Peanut for a long time and just making like a big fat order and letting others buy on top of them.
What chads? What chads?
We could actually analyze that and try to check what actually happened, like second by second.
No, maybe it's better to focus on what can we
Dealer
all do
memo.
now, you know? Because they'll
Absolutely.
just do whatever they do, and we're just little fishes in their big sea, And um,
Correct. I do love on-chain research. I feel like that's such an
Me too.
undervalued
Like
activity.
that's it's quite interesting. Although it does take a lot of time and we should probably rather just make some positions now on Peanut.
So act is still high volume. Let's take a look at the chart and maybe we can put in a position here. Um, I've so this is just like me kind of like spitballing this, but obviously some people are going to take profits now that their positions up a mere 2,100% in 24 hours. But then we also have people who are now, because Binance has listed this, I think people are now going to have a conviction that this is going to go to 1 billion. And the chart's kind of like chart showing uh, where it is.
Bro,
Maybe,
that's crazy volume. That's like 400. That's the
yeah,
main radium pool, right?
I believe so.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
should be. Bro,
So we
imagine
should,
if you had put just like 10K into the LP yesterday.
yeah. You won. You won the lottery.
Yeah.
I mean, shoulda, woulda, coulda,
Yeah.
there's no point of wasting energy on what could have been. It's like who would have? No one could have guessed they would have listed a 20 mil coin.
Yeah,
Like
it's just interesting. That's
you
why.
you didn't. Well, I'm just saying in general for people who maybe like kicking themselves for selling too early or something like that.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Like
It's not worth it,
guys,
guys.
you would not know. Like, there's no way you could have predicted unless you were an insider, in which case you actually broke the law. So, like, um, you know what I mean? So
Chief,
just
I would love to have you walk us through your kind of like chart
yeah, sure.
analysis. Um, what is it? The VPR is
Yeah, so there's two VPRs. There's fixed and visible. I prefer fixed, which kind of attaches it to the price. Um, yeah, if you turn it on.
don't I just click on it?
Yeah, you just click. Why is it not working?
GM Gen doesn't want us to get the gains.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Just loaded. Okay, so that what you just clicked and dragged there was the uh, fixed range one. Sorry. Um, so, but what you're looking at here, what these bars indicate are the buys and the sells. Yellow is, I think, the sells or the buys. I can't remember. Um, and they are placed in a bar chart along the price, um, so you can see where most of the volume has happened at which price point. So if you, yeah, there you go. You can see that there's definitely a constant. I mean, if you look at the chart, right, you can kind of see it visually that most of the trading has happened between zero point
This
0.4 and
range right here.
0.45. Yeah. Um, and now we're in a range that we're in a broken out into a new range when there's not been a lot of volume. Uh, and so when it comes to placing your um, bounds of your position, it can be really useful to check this because you can basically assess where it's likely that people who bought in the past would cut their losses when they break even. Say they
Mm.
bought at 0.412, which, by the way, the red line is the exact point of most volume. Um, in the time frame that you're looking at on the screen, by the way. So obviously, zoom out is going to change according to the whole. Yeah, you can see like there was a lot more
Interesting.
volume before,
Yeah.
right? Um, and so and this goes right that you can zoom in and get it really like granular if you wanted to. Um, and so this can be really helpful for understanding like where resistance might be. Um, and if it broke, people would likely sell because you can see like if it went below what's between 0.41, I don't know, 5 or something like that, for lower than that, the bar below. Yeah, like somewhere around there. Everyone who bought above it would be negative, so they might cut their losses before they lose too much money, if you know what I mean.
So this could be an area that you're really paying attention to because if price breaks here, you're probably going to see a further sell off.
Exactly. Because loads of people bought around there. Also, a bunch of people sold around there. So basically, if you're thinking about entering now, um, ideally, if you're thinking very PvP, ideally you would try and buy the token below these big bars, because then you would have got a better entry than most of the rest of the market,
Hmm.
if you know what I mean. At least in this recent time. Um, and you'll often see that this corresponds heavily to where liquidity is placed um, in a pool.
So I was
So
listening to Mario talk this morning about how he does these kind of like short-term bid asks. And then
yeah,
it seems to me like we would want to try and catch volume moving down into this and then flip it and
yeah.
sell that.
So yeah, in this instance, I would set a bid ask from the current price down to probably, to be safe, maybe 0.4, maybe lower than that.
Okay. I
Um,
want to I want to practice these more because I
yeah,
think like I have I've gotten decently good at setting up like the longer term like 69 being wide range ones, but uh I also really like the idea of getting excellent or at least very good at being able to pull a 10 or 20% in 15 minutes. Um so that seems like
so
we
okay,
need to
so we
swap to the sold price, not the USDC.
yes. Um, right, so the price I would set it to is maybe a bit lower than the where it's grayed out a little bit.
Down here.
Yeah, just to be safe. So we're not gonna op this is you'll notice this is my kind of style of thinking. We're not gonna we're not gonna be able to get the optimal placement. You just you set it below where you would like it to go, just in case. Um,
I do that as well. For me, like it might not be the most plus TV strategy in terms of maximizing profit, but for me, it's really beneficial in having the emotional security of knowing that I have more liquidity down below and I don't get ranged out as quickly.
Can you just go back to the chart and can we have, sorry, the DLMM itself, and what's the dynamic fee at the moment? Okay, just over two.
Just 2%.
Okay, so I would, if the
Wait,
dynamic fee was much higher and the volume was really, pumping, I would consider uh, stacking your bid ask with a spot, like doing maybe 1/4 spot
Yep.
and 3/4 bid ask, so that even in the higher area, you're still generating some fees.
Yep.
But
That's what I like to do.
um,
Did y'all see how
that
our fees just went away?
bro,
We had like
like I was literally about to mention it, right? But I couldn't because she was talking.
it had negative
Yeah,
fees for a
I
second.
saw minus point.
Yeah, bro, that's the worst LP ever.
Wait. I just want like it might be because of your laptop, right? Or a computer.
Bro, don't talk smack about my laptop. My laptop is A tier. Is S tier quality laptop.
Yeah, but you got like 25 windows open, bro. So
Yeah. Bro, sometimes I have like 70 open. I'm like
yeah,
tab master over here.
yeah,
your poor graphics card.
This doesn't even have a graphics card, dude. I'm running a
that's
actually
why.
for like for like the low budget chads out here. I have a Lenovo T420S or T480S. I got it for like 175 refurbished. It has 16 gigabytes of RAM. It has like a Core i5 processor and an SSD. And like I I had to replace the battery because I was refurbished and had a shit battery. I got a new battery for like $40 and replaced it. My keyboard broke. I got a new keyboard. It's like $30. I replaced it. Like I'm like so bullish on like slightly older business level Lenovo laptops.
I mean,
Um,
I'm also using a T14S laptop.
which one do you have? You said
T14.
the T14S. It must be an inferior model. Let me Google it real quick.
Yeah, it's a Gen 2.
What are you working with, Chief?
I have a Dell G7, which is an
Oh,
old gaming laptop. Well, I
sounds
bought it in
fancy.
COVID, so um,
Dang guys, Yusuf's got the
but
classy one. His is 400 for refurbished.
Yeah, but let's continue.
okay, can
Actually,
we just? I just want to check something on the indicators, because I'm wondering if actually it's not going to go down soon. If you go, let's check the MACD.
what is MACD?
I think it stands for moving average convergence divergence or something like that. This is a really useful tool for understanding when to flip your bid ask. So what you're looking at here is a histogram again with a zero line. If you um, zoom into the MACD, maybe make that window a little bit bigger and expand it.
I've been trying. Where can I scale up my chart
You
in
if you
PNG?
if
So if you
you
see that gray bar that you just hovered over
Yes.
up a bit between the volume and the MACD, you see that you know the volume bars? Yeah, that
Yes.
one. Click and
yeah,
drag that,
I want to
and
go
then on the no, click and drag the
the other
that's the
way.
volume. Yeah, the other one. That's the one we're looking at. And then go to where the price normally is on the part. Oh yeah, well that
Oops,
works too.
I
Another,
broke it, guys. I don't
okay.
use GMGN often.
But this is available on Deck Screener and all the other. This is really useful. So basically, what you're looking at, you see, there's like a line that cuts it through the middle. This histogram, these bar charts. So there's green
Yes.
bars and red bars.
Yeah.
The green bars, these indicate volume and which direction the volume is going, with the middle being the zero. So you can see that for a good period where your mouse is now, there was quite a long sustained period of positive buy volume. The most of the volume that was spent on the coin was a buy, right? If the green goes slightly discolored, like it's a lighter green, it means the sell volume is slightly increasing. And then you can see
Uh,
where it crosses over to the zero. Now
yeah.
the sell volume is higher than the previous bar. And so it goes darker red. And so you can see if you look on the chart, right where the buy volume was starting to slow, um, if you go to one to the right a little bit, the other peak, keep going. It's because it's a bit more clear. Yeah, there. You can see where it reversed. Um, you can
And
see
we
the negative volume was higher at that point. That's actually the bottom. Where it changed was when the buy volume uh, just started to dip, where it reversed.
I feel like a baby that I've never used this before.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, dude, I wonder how many things in. And if you look at the RSI, it actually reflects often. They're basically the same indicator. Um, yeah, you can
This
see
is
it was overbought and then it reversed. And it's the same on the MACD. Now, the lines on this indicator, when they cross, when the blue goes over the red or the red goes over the blue, that's usually the point where the reversal or the direction of the price changes.
so is this blue line designated representing buy volume and the red is representing sell volume, or what do the blue and red lines mean?
Oh God, what was it again?
Yeah, we need to get more conversations happening about this TA stuff because this is like a whole nother level of like information and analytics that you can use to improve your decision making.
What I found really useful was just asking ChatGPT.
Really?
Um, I just asked it like what TA would be useful for an LP, and it came up with a list of
Really?
different ones. Then I asked it to teach me how to use it, etc., etc.
What a Chad move. That's such a Chad move. I love it.
Okay, so um, you have the signal line, which is a 9-day EMA. Okay, so you have an MACD line and a signal line. Um, and when one crosses the other, they indicate a buy or sell. So if you look at the chart, um, they're basically the different averages.
So like when I'm LPing, like I don't touch things that aren't going to have a 50% move or more because like I just never had the confidence in being
Hmm.
able to predict short-term price action. And so these like analytics are like so interesting to me. And so I'm like definitely number one, like I'm gonna steal your strategy and go like hang out with Chat GPT a little bit and have
Yeah,
have Claude and such teach me the ways. But I'm also grateful for you sharing this because this is a whole other avenue of trading that I don't know a lot about.
yeah. So it might help you, well, especially if you're doing the bid ask flips, which to me is probably the most powerful way of making, one of the most powerful ways of,
How long
because
is your average position, Chief?
I rarely do anything longer than 6 hours.
Hmm.
Um,
So I'm just curious, Chief, right? Because personally, right, like sometimes I do bid ask positions, right? And it goes all the way down to my bottom limit, but then I just close it. I don't make a reversed bid ask position for the reason that I'll be like usually you'll make more money if you just hold the coins than if you put the coins into a bid ask. That's my
well,
experience,
this
right? That's why I do. So that's why I would personally just close the position if it goes to my bottom limit and just hold it and sell it for like a 10% increase rather than sell it through a bid ask.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely the best way of doing it, except for one thing.
Yeah,
All
what's
that
that?
all that soul you could have earned um, through the deal MM, because obviously if you do bid ask, you're just going to earn token, right? Well,
Yeah,
if you're doing only soul bid ask, um, so all the soul you could have earned selling the token on the way back up, that's all net points for your airdrop that you're not getting.
that's true.
Mm.
I think that's the only argument. Yeah.
It also
Um,
it also depends on how long it takes for price to rebound. because you can get movements that will occur in 30 minutes, or you can get a movement that'll occur in 6 to 12 hours.
Yeah.
Or 2 seconds, like
Correct.
with
Yeah.
peanut.
Correct.
So by the way, just to the final piece of the puzzle that helps you decide when to flip your bid ask, or when to exit if you were just watching tank, or when to double down as well, right? Like you could basically time the bottom much easier with this tool. Is if you scroll up to the actual volume chart on the right, on GN, the actual table, yeah, sorry.
Is it
And yeah,
your net buy indicator?
this is a feature that I don't know why the other Dexes and stuff don't have this, like Dex Screener and stuff. This is so insanely useful if you're watching. Basically, you're watching it like, is the buying slowing down? Or, like you can literally watch it on the 1 minute. You can see, if you click the one
And
minute,
you're looking to see a decrease in momentum to essentially designate a short-term
yeah.
top
So
or a top.
if so if you see someone sold like 15K and it dropped down from 30 to 15, and now we'll watch it and be like, well, okay, now it's in 13K. Now, if it hits like minus 50K, then I might start being like, it's probably going to reverse. You know what I mean? Um, and you get a sense of how much is relative to the market cap and the volume, because obviously, like different coins will have, $100 could change it much more than on the very early stuff. Um, so yeah, this is
This is very great.
yeah, and obviously, if the percentage is, like right now, the 1 minute's hovering around zero, so the net buy is going to be close to zero, either positive or negative. Um, yeah, so I find this really, really useful for figuring out when something might reverse,
Yeah.
um, and when people are aping, like when it's hit the bottom.
So
But then
when I
you're like, quickly, quickly, the bid ask, withdraw. Yeah.
yeah, that's why I don't like the super short-term positions, because like if I'm trying to catch like a top range, like a lot of times I'll just do spot all the way across, because I don't want to have to flip the bid ask. Like I just want to be able to generate fees in that range and then generate profit via the fees. Um,
Yeah,
That's
but for
literally
example,
also. Go ahead, Chief.
on this coin right now, you want to LP it. What would you do? Like, are you going to go two-sided after this pump?
so this is a coin that I would intentionally not LP, because I don't have enough confidence in this chart pattern to be able
Mhm.
to predict future price action. If someone put a gun to my head and said LP this right now, then my kind of like go to is running just the regular fib sequence and using that to predict like support levels. And so what I would kind of do, and this is again, this is so weird, so I literally wouldn't do
This is
this
not a
because
typical, yeah.
exactly, it's an anomaly. And so like I think maybe what you could do is like do a longer term bid ask coming down to here, because this has to be our floor for at least one movement. There are so many people who are buying this coin right now. If they get to buy it at 400K versus 500K, there's going to be an influx of some buyers. And so what I would do is like a bid ask down to this lower end range,
Mhm.
and then use this as like a 6 to 12 hour long position. Um,
Thank you. Yeah, I would literally do the same.
but it's also like I think the key to being successful is, well, first off, like find something that you're really good at and double down on that and become really, really consistent with that. However, like I also want to add more opportunities or skills to my repertoire. And there are lots of these micro movements. And so if we look at like price action here, we have uh essentially like 25% down, 50% up,
Mhm.
25% down. And so each each of these singular movements here represents a profit opportunity, whether you're buying low and selling high, or you're DLMMing this range and flipping as we're describing. And so like while this is definitely a far more advanced strategy, like we're talking about decisions being done in seconds in a lot of cases, I think it's a good thing to do and it's a good thing to practice. Um, Also, the TA things that you're describing, Chief, like these are things that you can translate over to a 6 to 12 hour position and
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
gain benefit from in that way.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, look, if you could try it now on this and it'll be crazy because of the Binance thing. But if you did it on like a maybe the 4 hour or the 1 hour, maybe the 1 hour, um,
This
you could just
everyone
see
bought
how,
here.
yeah,
But
well, you
there's
can see
also
just this gives you an indication actually, just relative to the lifetime of the coin, how much more volume there was beforehand, before compared to now. Because obviously it's only been a few hours, right? But
yeah.
that is insane. That's a
Yeah.
stupid chart. That's a fuck. That's a right angle. You know, like it's just ridiculous. Um, yeah. So the MACDs. I think you'll be really interested to compare this volume profile range with the with your Fibonacci lines, because you might find they line up more often than not.
There's a TA term that I forget the name of, but it's when you have a large candle up, and then the new candle. I think it's like a moving value average gap or something like that. I forget the actual term, but so like when you have this really big, this is a better example. When you have this like really big candle up, there are a lot of people who wanted to buy here but didn't get the chance to. And the theory is that when price returns to this area, those buys are now going to activate. And
Oh
so,
yeah, bro.
do you know
Like
what I'm talking about, Yusuf?
yeah, I know what you're talking about. I studied because the thing is I studied the Forex,
Yeah.
not Forex trading, but I studied Forex markets, right? Like a year ago. I actually forgot the name of it as well, but I know it's like a gap, something a gap.
Yeah, something gap. I think it's like, I
Yeah.
don't know. But so what
A
I
value
would do,
gap, isn't it?
Yeah,
I think
value
so.
gap. Yeah, I think it's something about value gap, yeah.
A fair value gap.
Yeah, fair value gap. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
So what I would do for a longer term position is I would come down here to like 2-0 and try and catch this move or some semblance of that.
Mm,
That's essentially that's no, that's even wider than or that's less wide
Yeah.
than we had originally done.
yeah.
Yeah, well, so the bid ask, I mean, you are putting so much more liquidity at the bottom of the range, right? So what you're banking on is in this situation is buyers thinking it's at a discount, but they're still bullish overall, or people doubling down. Um, right? So that at this point, you know, everyone is trained, like, don't buy a big green candle like this. So you're gonna wait for a pullback, and then they're gonna fire off their buys, right? So you want to have your liquidity there for them to do that. Um, and then if you don't, I mean, you have three levels of risk from that point on. One, you just leave the bid ask as it is, and it climbs back up, and you can kind of close it at any point once it's, you know, in the top two-thirds of the curve, and you're probably in a profit. Um, Two, you withdraw your liquidity and place it all back in a spot, and you just farm the fees all the way up. That's probably the safest. By the way, when Meteor reintroduced single side withdrawals, that's insanely powerful because you basically scale out of your position in increments. And then the third would be to be bullish on it and just withdraw all your liquidity and place everything back in the opposite bid ask, which means you've bought low and sold high. And that can be very lucrative sometimes. But obviously, all you have to do at that point then is if the coin doesn't climb up as high as you wanted it to, is when you know it's reached the peak, withdraw and close and sell immediately. And then you're still in some profit, you know.
Chief, what do you do as a stop loss for a position like this? Because again, like when I'm opening an LP, a lot of times I want to give myself like a minus 50 or sometimes like almost minus 70, minus 80% drawdown. So my stop
Mm.
loss is essentially like this coin is dead. I chose the wrong coin to LP. But with something like this, when we're doing a 10 to 20% range, you could easily break down and through your range. So how do you kind of
Mhm.
like incorporate good disciplined trading, and how do you do stop losses on an LP like this?
Well, first of all, um, you would don't get into it if you're not bullish on it long term.
Hmm.
You know what I mean?
That's a
Um,
really good point.
like especially when we're talking something at this high market cap, like you got to believe, you got to be. As soon as you put something in the deal MM, you have to act like you bought spot, and even if it's sold, because like, are you gonna? Because most of the time it does bounce. Like in this market condition, it does return to a profit, but might take a few days, you know. And so it's like, are you willing to hold it that long? Um, you might not have to, but if you are willing to do it, then that makes things a lot easier. Second is I always enter with a bid ask. Um, if I'm if it's say it did pull back to like 0.0018, that region, I would open, even if I bought spot and wanted to go two-sided, the downside, the soul side would be a bid ask as well. So I'm at least mitigating some of the downside. Because the bid ask flip will basically make up for some of the losses from the spot purchase. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think
So
one of oh, please finish.
so for example, let's say it did pull back to that 0.0018 range. I would say I bought two sol of the token. I deposit that two sol maybe as like a all token spot position, right? And then I would open another position below it, which is all sol, but this time maybe four sol bid ask. So the profit from the Solana bid ask could cancel out. It's basically doubling down,
Yeah.
um, but done with a strategy that's uh, like more risk adjusted, if you know what I mean. And then yeah, then after that, it's like okay, if it broke through that, and often by the way, my sole backup position is a bit tighter because it's because what I'm trying to see is, for example, on this chart, if it broke below 0.0018, it might only go down to the next, like there's a gap between
Down to this region.
somewhere. Yes. So if it did break below that, then okay, you should probably like get out. Um, but yeah, there's something I learned from Sue Jason, uh, who's DAO. He just I don't know how he does it, but he just stays in stuff for so long and comes out good, you know.
Yeah.
Um,
I think especially with overall market conditions now, if you're choosing legitimate coins that have ongoing attention, you you almost always will have a chance to exit your position in profit. Unless like you top blast at 100 million and it runs down to 10 million, you're just so far out of it. But like I think for those who are new into DLMMing and they are more frequently encountering losses, limit yourself to only LPing coins that you want to buy and you want to hold, because that is going to allow you to have that conviction to hold a position for longer if when it goes below your range and your position is at a net loss. So you not like you can switch your perspective from, oh, my LP is at a loss. What a bummer. I need to consider closing this and realizing a loss, to, oh, I was just able to DCA into this coin that I wanted to buy and I got free soul and free coin in the process. Um, and then you just kind of like sit on your hands and wait.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I mean, and this is something that Hangout has mentioned in the chat. Um, he's saying I, I ended up deciding that position size was my stop loss. I would lose 100% and be
Uh,
okay with it.
nice.
For degen small plays on small coins only, did this because so often I sold at the bottom, and when I held, often the token would bounce back long if I had long enough. So I mean, this is really important, really, really important actually. Like I have different amounts that I'll put in for different market caps. Like I'm not gonna ape the same amount every time.
What
Just
what percent of your trading budget are you allocating to 2 million brand new coin? And what percent are you allocating to a 10 to 50 million coin?
I don't do it in percentages. I just keep it simple.
Well,
Like I
rather than
do.
like having you disclose how much like a soul your
No,
LP,
no, no. I get.
you're welcome
I
to do
know.
that as well.
Well, so for like a 2 million, I'll put like. I used to do like one soul,
Mm,
and then it was like two soul, and now I might do like two soul spot, two soul bid ask. You know.
yeah,
But I try to keep it really clean. Like it's an easy to remember number. You just helps when you calculating stuff later on, like how much did I lose? And
yeah.
and so like a bigger one, I'm maybe like, okay, maybe 10 sold on this one. So I have basically three tiers. You have your like your regular day-to-day like degen stuff. It could go up 80% and down 120% in the space of an hour. Okay, so if I did lose out one soul or two soul loss isn't going to really uh,
Yeah, I guess
hurt me
I
too
guess
much.
I guess for me personally, if it was a 2 or 3 million coin out, I'd probably go with 30% of my capital, but make a pretty solid and conservative position. Like that's the way that that I trade. Like um because just by making a conservative position, you are essentially mitigating, every kind of thing that could happen with that token. Like it could dump 50%, but you would be okay. Um so yeah.
I need to do a better job of sizing down my high risk positions because like it's one of like the big things that I've been working on recently is decreasing the my net losses because I've had like especially when I was like worse at this, I would like do really really well and then do like a 10 soul loss on one position. So I just
Yeah.
freaking like YOLO'd into a rug. And so I think like by doing that kind of like 1x for high risk and then like 5 to 10x for a medium to low risk, I think that is a really good strategy and I'm going to kind of implement that in my own decision making.
Yeah. But on that note, guys, I'll have to leave now, okay?
Used to, we got to get to
All
class.
right.
Yeah, I need to go now. See you all. Have a
Yeah,
See
thank
wonderful,
you
you.
for joining.
of course. See you.
So Bob, we've had a question. Could you tell me how to activate the volume in the table the volume profile, basically?
Oh, this one. Are you guys
Yeah.
talking about this one over here?
Yeah.
So I
So
believe
yeah.
it is VRP, correct, right? Or VPR?
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
a VPR.
And which is the one that we were using? The visible range?
So if you click visible range, I'll show you how to use it. But that's the one we're using, sorry. Um, Fixed range, sorry, means you can select the range in which you want it to analyze.
We'll take a
So
look.
volume. No, the other one. Oh yeah, there you go. So this works just like you click and drag your Fibonacci thing. So you
And
just
am I
you,
going up and down?
it's up to you because you're just indicating like between which prices and which time frame do you want to see
Okay,
the
so
volume profile. So yeah, see from there and then up maybe so that would only show you, yeah, the volume profile in that little area. If you drag that diagonally all the way to the top, it would do the volume profile of everything you see on the screen. So start from the bottom and work your way up.
isn't this showing the it's just
Yeah,
grayed out
it's
here,
the
right?
same thing. Yeah. So now it's showing you the whole, you're basically drawing a box, right, around the, yeah, exactly. So there you go.
Okay, so it just gives you a bit more control over the range that you're wanting to analyze.
Yeah. And then the visible range is everything you can see on the screen.
I gotcha. What other TA indicators do you use?
Those are my main ones. Volume, the volume bar is very important. It's underused, I think. You can click and drag and make it bigger as well. I because I it wasn't until I found that net volume thing, I felt like the actual regular volume indicator was so lacking from an LPS perspective.
Yeah,
You know what
this
I
is
mean?
definitely something I'm going to pay more attention to.
I mean, this is particularly useful for so your minute by minute, especially doing the really degen LP stuff, um, where seconds count. You know what I mean? Um, yeah. What else is there? We got. That's actually all I use, pretty much. I use your Fibonacci. I use the Fibonacci thing. Oh, and Bollinger Bands are pretty good.
Yeah, this is one I don't really use myself, but I've seen it a lot on crypto Twitter.
Bollinger Bands kind of. You can also use them as the range for your um, so basically like if you see the bars when they go beyond the blue lines, you see that they
Yeah,
overlap and
like
they
right
cross
here.
over it. So
That's
that
when you want
usually
to
means
start taking
yeah,
profit.
it's overbought at that point, right? And then you can see the reverse is true. I mean, it's been up only, so you haven't really generally see. And so this is you could use this to set your bounds as well, right? So like the more contracted this band is, the closer it is, the more sideways the coin will move, and the more expanded this band is, the more upward or downward the price will move.
I want to pull up a different chart because obviously this is like such a strange coin to analyze. I'm
You do
wondering
it on
if you
like
I'm wondering if you
mm,
could use like Bollinger Bands and like literally just use that to designate all of your LP decisions and if it would be profitable.
yeah.
Um, I I want to get someone to like back test that strategy and see if it actually work. That'd be so cool. But it's hard.
I mean,
It's it's hard to make these decisions right now because so many of these coins that we're looking at are just like up only, and that's not normal price behavior.
Bollinger Bands is a little bit shorter time frame, right? Because they're reactive as well. They're not.
I
I mean,
don't
it's
know
all
to be
reactive,
honest.
right?
Um,
So in this situation, looking at the current price where we are right now, if the price goes below this orange line in the middle, you're probably being that kind of indicates you're buying it at a discount. If it goes below the blue line at the bottom, then you probably should cut your losses. You know?
or potentially that's a good entry point. Um,
Yeah.
I think it depends on like the momentum of the coin. This is interesting. I need to go have a conversation with ChatGPT later on and ask it for some more advice. Holy
At the
shit, dude!
beginning, I used to
Oh,
ask ChatGPT so like set the bounds for me and stuff. I was sending it the like Meteora documentation, like I was gonna read all this, like trying to get it to come up with some stuff. There's a cool website that does stuff like this called intent.trade. Um,
and it's using LMs to make trading decisions.
yeah, so um, you could put the contact address in, and it tells you if it's uh, got good momentum or
I'm very interested in what's happening with like autonomous agents on chain because I think we're going to
hmm,
see a proliferation of this kind
we're
of
gonna
like
get smoked.
yeah, well, so one of the things is like, and this is like a completely different conversation, but I think UBI, universal basic income, is something that has to be incorporated into the kind of humanity's future because like literally so I used to be a carpenter and like us blue collar folk like we literally have the competitive advantage over almost everyone in the world when it comes to protection of our employment relative to automation. But like I remember reading something on Twitter and this guy was talking about how he doesn't have a lawyer anymore. He had a lawyer on retainer, and then one day he's just like, "Hey, Chat GBT, what should I do about this?" And it gave him perfect advice. Like so, like lawyers are going to become obsolete. I think the majority of software developers are going to become obsolete. We're going to see marketing completely be driven and managed by AI. And so I would be willing to guess that like 70 to 80% of white collar jobs are no longer they're literally not relevant right now. It's just that if we were to have like a mass replacement of these people via AI, the economy would collapse. And so we can't allow that to happen. But like we have to acknowledge that the current economic model is in the process of completely being overhauled via automation and AI agents. And so I don't think that's a bad thing. I think it's a wonderful thing. I think it's a very risky thing because like we could have this dystopian future arise where AI essentially becomes completely monopolized and we don't have regular people who have access to it. And then you'll just see this massive spiraling of any income inequality. I hope that doesn't happen. Like what I want to see is I want to see a world where everyone has their smartphone or whatever kind of like access point becomes relevant in the future, and then they are able to create essentially anything that they can imagine with the assistance of personalized AI agents. And then you have like rapid prototyping via 3D printers, or maybe you just like manifest and create these things in a what is it, like the metaverse, and you just are creating complete like environments and experiences in that realm. But like I'm super bullish on the future, and I think that like we need to be conscientious of how we're navigating this transition because it's the most important technological advancement that humanity has ever encountered. But like it could provide UBI for everyone on the planet, and we could like completely end all warfare. We could completely end all poverty. AI could completely like get rid of essentially like all disease could be overcome. Theoretically, like you have to assume that like disease exists because of there weren't enough compute units given to figure out the like the solutions or the way to cure these diseases. And then there's also a resource issue where people don't have access to adequate resources and adequate medicine to solve those when they get exposed to those. It's like AI could solve all of these things as long as like humanity at large is able to number one like figure out how to share more effectively so that we stop having like wars over resources. And I think also number two, we need to be conscientious and cautious with how rapidly we expose ourselves to AI because there always is the Skynet possibility where AI is like humanity is the number one risk to my own sentient existence. Let me solve that problem for myself. So hopefully that doesn't happen. And that's my
Well,
AI
you
futurism
better buy
rant.
more Bitcoin then. Got to own assets in that world.
Have you ever heard about Bitcoin functioning as a normalized value or a normalized quantifier of electricity?
No,
So like
I have not.
the theory is that like 1 unit of electricity should be equivalent to 1 unit of electricity all around the world. And because Bitcoin is a derivative of electricity plus computational power, we could eventually get to the point in time where all like electricity is denominated in Satoshis. I think the same could also be eventually said for computational units. And like compute units are like I think a lot of people have said that data is the true wealth of the current age, and that's because data gives you predictive capacity over everything. But also compute units are going to be the gold of the current age as we rely more and more on AI. And you could get to a point where 1 Satoshi is equivalent to X number of compute units. And maybe by holding Bitcoin, that gives you X% of allocation of the total compute units that are available. Um, just like really, really weird and interesting things that we're going to get exposed to. in the next 5, 10, 20, and 30 years. Um, I'm ecstatic about it.
Yeah. I mean, this latest AI memes, that stuff it's wild.
what
It's
what's
awesome.
your what's your take on the sentient AI meta?
Within crypto or just in
Correct,
general?
yeah. In the crypto space.
Um, you think you're being manipulated by KOLs now? Wait till the AI is getting on it.
Yeah, like
Can
so
you
I
imagine like they spin up how many X accounts like FUD they could deploy on the scale they could do it on?
yeah,
But
so
then
that go ahead.
I do feel quite often when it comes to we have a very good uncanny valley sense. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? So I wonder if that kind of sense translates into the charts or translates into um, you know crypto Twitter like bull posts. You have to tell, like the way you look at a AI generated image and you kind of tell.
Yeah, but it's
Sometimes you get a sense of what, that it is or isn't.
I think we're rapidly approaching that point where the average person is not going to be able to differentiate from it. Um,
Yeah,
and I think we have to put safeguards in place to protect people in the same way that there are people who are campaigning to protect and prevent against disinformation. I think that, and Twitter has done a decent job of doing this so far, in that they automatically designate any posts that are created via bots. And so when we are thinking about what it's going to be like to interact with an entity that is 1,000 to a million times more intelligent than us, uh, there there are no real ways, I think, to protect individuals from that, other than having essentially like firewalls in place where people are forced to define that this information is coming from an AI, this is the intention, et cetera, et cetera. And that's why it's so important, in my opinion, that we are very conscientious in how we progress into this AI space. Um, I I think it's really interesting when you look at someone like Murad, who has essentially perfectly predicted current market conditions in regards to the meme megacycle, as he likes to call it. But what is really interesting to me is that he created this theory prior to the true creation of these AI memes. And whereas these pre existing metas are the accumulation of a bunch of individual people working together to, and you could say that they're trying to create this like cultural movement, but 99% of them are just trying to make price go up. And they're working as this decentralized force to essentially market an asset. Whereas now we have things like Goat and similar products who, whether it be just the truth terminal Twitter, or maybe eventually we get to this point where there are 10,000 or even a million Twitter accounts representing this singular entity that is now working in a coordinated effort with 1,000 times the more average intelligence than a regular human being to create this massive marketing campaign. Um, so I'm very, very bullish on the AI sector, uh, both in crypto and at large. But it's going to be interesting either way.
no, for sure. I mean, it's. It, I don't think we can even comprehend how insane it's going to get.
Yeah, that's like the whole like notion behind the singularity, is this phenomenon that's so complex that it cannot be predicted. Um, yeah, it's one thing that's really comforting to me is that like we're either going to live in a utopia or we're all gonna get essentially wiped by non-benevolent AI. And like if I don't know how deep people want to go, but like if you're actually like worried about that, there's no reason to be afraid of it, because like if a sentient AI who like created that intention would do so in the most efficient manner possible, and they would probably either like block out the sun or like disrupt the atmosphere or something like that, where essentially you'd probably have this like near instantaneous like mass extinction event. And so like there's no reason to be afraid of phenomenon like that. Again, like I think we should be conscientious, and I think from like a governmental level, I think we do need to implement some kind of like safety thresholds to make sure that we're not just like blindly opening Pandora's box. But there's no reason to be afraid of AI because it would have no benefit in like causing pain to humanity. And
Dude,
now
I
we're like,
just buy coins that are called fart coin, you know? Like,
bro, I'm so mad that that thing's worth $130 million right now. I've been fading it this whole time, and I'm like, I don't want to buy it because it's called fart, and I'm like, I don't want to buy that. But obviously, the rest of the world wants to.
yeah, well, the most entertaining thing's often the thing that gets picked, right?
Yes, that is what I have realized in hindsight. I should have bought it because it did bother me emotionally. that that is why it would have been a good decision.
Yeah. How's your position coming along?
I think
Did
we have accomplished nothing so far. Oh, there we go. We've got a little bit of like in range movement. Let's pull the chart back up. And then I've got to wrap this up in 15 minutes or so. So I'm in Ecuador right now, and Ecuador has been in a drought for the past few months, and they're heavily reliant on hydroelectric power. And so we are being we don't get power all day long. So my
Hmm.
laptop is gonna die.
You running off a Starlink there?
No, they still have. So I'm guessing they are running a generator to power like the Wi-Fi
Hmm.
towers. And I'm at like an Airbnb, and they have like a little battery backup for the Wi-Fi router. But it's really crazy. So this place that I'm at like this small little coastal town in Ecuador, and I go to like a cafe, and they get 500 megabytes a second download speed. And then I'll be in the US, and like there'll be places that are at like 7 megabytes a second. I'm like, bro, what the fuck?
Yeah. Well, is Ecuador? I mean, obviously, US is much bigger country. Infrastructure is much harder to install.
I don't even think it's that. I think it's like an extension of the profit maximization in the US, because like I remember when I was living in Atlanta, AT&T essentially had a monopoly on ISPs, and I got their best plan in the neighborhood I was in, and I was getting like 2 megabytes a second in download speed. And this was like 2015. It's not that long ago. Um, So we're kind of like in this mid tier now. This is kind of like a decision point where you're now going to choose to allow this to range further down. Um, maybe you're going
Yeah.
to,
So look at the MACD, which is kind of it's still on your screen. It's just been flattened. Oh, you've opened a second one.
so you want to see this red bar shifting towards white, correct?
Correct. So yeah, maybe expand it to
Oh, so I have two of them.
yeah. So right now, there's still more selling to be done. I think it's only just crossed the bullish momentum. Has only just changed. So
Do you
there's
have
still yeah. We're kind
do
of
you have
watching
like
intently to see.
do you have like a gut feeling for how long these microcycles last?
No, it's too. It's not. Maybe on a like on the Sol chart or the Bitcoin chart, you could do it, but it's just not. It's technical analysis is basically what you're looking at is the average of everyone's actions, right? And
Hmm.
so the smaller the market cap, the smaller the number of holders, the less accurate this averages are going to be.
Hmm.
You know, you have this idea of like the crowd. If you get enough people to guess how many how many jelly beans are in a jar, the average will get it right. Like the crowd knowledge is always right. So that's why TA works on stuff that's big, but not very well on small things, because one person with an outsized wallet can swing it massively, you know. Whereas they couldn't do that on a well, not many people can do it on a Bitcoin chart, for example. Certainly less people could do it on something like gold or something like that, you know.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. So you can see it's the red bar is starting to it just flipped to pink. Have a look. I still think it's got further to go. It's probably going to dip down to that, yeah, around where your mouse is now, somewhere around there. We can see the net buy in the last 5 minutes is positive though, even though the price is negative right now, right?
How's it? Oh, because we're looking at that doesn't make any sense. How's it positive net buy but price? Well, I guess it's kind of like sideways. It's kind of like chopping right here.
Exactly. It also means like the 5 minute bar hasn't closed yet, you know, like the
Hmm.
period of trade hasn't closed. But we can see the momentum of cells it is still gaining momentum. Like there's still the number of sellers is increasing still, or the amount of cell volume is increasing, not the numbers.
I can't believe I've never used these tools to help with decision making. I'm glad you joined the jam today, Chief. Oh, also I saw in your application that you want to host Asia time zone LP Jam.
Yeah, I think that'll be. I think it's midnight for me right now, and
Yeah.
um, it's a different game. Like in the being the night shift for the US, you know, and yeah, it's. I think it's kind of needed. It like um, decision making slightly different. You have to kind of think like, what are people going to do in the morning when they see this chart when they wake up? Because most of the trading is happening in the US, you know. So um,
I love it.
and yeah,
I'm
there's some real self-discipline required when it comes to uh, when you wake up. You know, it's like at the point where everyone's starting to think about going to sleep, and people are tired and making stupid decisions, you know, and
and
you
Chief
have to
comes
kind of
in.
decide like what what's what am I FOMOing into? Is it the right decision? You know what I mean? Or am I better off not doing anything and waiting until a more defined range is obvious? This it's struggling here at this middle point. It's definitely like indecision. So it's a good thing that you know you got some uh, liquidity placed there.
Yeah, but I think our price movements are so low that we're not getting volume going through our bins. Um,
Interesting that peanut is the same thing is happening to it right now as well. They're kind of inextricably linked right now.
yeah, that's like bro, there's definitely insider trading going on on those.
Yeah, I just want that um, RTR insider to spin up his wallets again.
Oh,
They, I don't know who it was, but someone put they must have put like 100 mil into a volume bot. It
really?
was insane. I think
Jeez.
at one point it was got like 2 million volume in 1 minute, some stupid like that,
Jesus.
and it was insane. Um, that's the rare occasion where I just essentially full ported.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we can see. Look, there's been a bit of the chart has changed a little bit. You can see Oh, it's really
It was there for a
it's a
second.
real battle going on right now between the two. So if you were really degen, you could do like a one bin here.
And just let
Because
that
I think
ride for
right now the chances are greater that it's going to go up than down. But
yeah.
you can't know for sure, right? But you know that in this zone right now, there's so much trading happening between the two sides. And so if you had like two or three bins in that area, you could be killing, but you it's like you watch it, and if it leaves one way, you're good. If it leaves the other way, you're fucked.
Yeah, I feel
Like,
like, I mean, unless you're going in with like 10 soul or 20 soul, like to me, it would not be worth it. I've realized that not only do I need to factor in like price movement and potential gains in my decision making, but I also need to factor in the mental and emotional stress that I'll incur by choosing to open a position. I'm like, oh no, thank you. I don't want to do that.
so let's have a look at the net buy and sell. It's weird. I got like a okay. Here we go. The
It's
5 minutes positive. Okay, I think it's time to flip. I think the momentum's changed. Although obviously we
we
went
didn't
too
get a lot
wide.
of exposure.
I mean, this is mostly to show people how it works.
Yeah. So I think for the sake of my laptop not dying live on stream, I think I'm just
Hmm.
gonna close this. I'm guessing we'll be essentially break even for this position, but I've got 20 minutes left and I want to just wrap everything up and not have to stress about
Okay.
having 4,000 soul or $4,000 worth live in a position I can't manage. Um, but Chief, yeah, big shout out to you for coming on. What a Chad move, giving us a lot of really valuable advice and some really great like TA strategies. We'll probably
Hmm.
talk in Discord more about getting you set up with some other LB jams. I really want to get like 3 a week going. I think there's so much value to be given to others by just like having these events and sharing what we know. I'd love to see it happen more often. Um,
Yeah, man. Let's do it. All right. Well, enjoy your trip.
Yeah, I'm gonna take a nap. I didn't sleep at all last night. I don't know why, but like I think it was maybe my spidey sense was tingling, letting me know that
Mm.
Peanut was about to rip. I got like no sleep last night, so I'm gonna take a nap.
Well, I'm glad I could be of help to everyone.
Yeah, yeah, I had a
And
blast. Thank you.
don't uh don't lose it all, guys.
Oh no. Yeah.
All right.
All right, wonderful. Thank you everyone for joining. Big shout out again to Chief for showing up, and we'll see you guys next week. Have a great one.
Bye bye.